Hey there, it's Kathy. Welcome back. So glad to have you. This is our third episode of the podcast, and today we're going to talk about what's shaking with the lambs. If you've watched my little videos, you've seen we have some, and I got another cute video on coming out tomorrow. But anyway, so we've got a few lambs, and then, to be honest, I've got something I've been thinking about, and I just can't get it off my mind. So we're going to talk about that one too. Anyway. First up is the lambs. We have, as you know, the early group of lambers. It's a surprise. A nice surprise, though. Out of the 12 ewes due to lamb, there's still 4 holding out that haven't lambed yet. There were 3 that lambed yesterday. So yesterday was a big day, but still 4 to go. So far, most of the ewes and the lambs have done pretty well. Mostly considering the cold, because it has been pretty cold overnight. Now and last night, not so much, but it was single digits there, and that's just cold. So we're still running the checks every couple hours just to make sure that everybody, once they're born, they get up and get going, don't get too chilled down. We have had to bring a couple in and put them under the heat lamp and get them warmed up and then get them back out to their mom. So far, that's gone pretty well. I do have 2 bottle babies. We got some lamb milk replacer. We just use the TSC brand, and so far it's working pretty good. We used to try to feed lambs cow milk, because honest, it's just the 2 of us here most days. I mean, my son's still home, but he has a full-time job and is out and about all the time. So just the 2 of us, and Aileen's milking plenty, so we don't use all our milk. So we thought it only makes sense to feed it to the bottle lambs, except they just don't do well on it. You need a higher fat. So if you have bottle lambs, be sure you are getting species appropriate milk replacer for them. So not all species, not that. Lamb milk replacer. You need the higher fat. It's a little pricey, but we used it last year, saw a ton of difference, works really good. So definitely go for it. Anyway, so we're using the milk replacer for them. And the funny thing is, it smells like vanilla milkshake. It smells really good. Anyway, the other thing that we did this year for the first time is one of the babies that's being fed never got colostrum from the mom, which if you have sheep, you know that is terrible. That is just terrible. Even if you can bottle feed the baby and get it going, in our experience, anything that didn't get colostrum from its mom, you get to 10 days, 2 weeks, and little monster who was doing well all of a sudden starts going downhill and they die. And it's terrible because you feel bad and there's nothing you can do. But we're trying a new thing this time. We got a product called, make sure to get the name right. It's called CLU Replacer. You mix it up just like you do a milk replacer. Anyway, so it's a powdered colostrum replacement. We're using it to see how it goes with this one. And obviously we just used it for the first time 2 days ago. So I don't have any results. The lamb's doing fine, but that was never a problem. It usually takes, like I said, around the 10 day to 2 weeks where you see the lack of colostrum come out. So hopefully we'll have this fixed for this time. I mean, let's be real. Ideally, this never happens. I would love to not ever have a bottle baby and never, ever need the colostrum replacement. However, if you don't have that stuff and you need it, now you're in trouble. So having it on hand, use it, just makes your life so much easier. Anyway, so that's what's shaken as far as lambs go. Like I said, just 2 of them are in here. I just got them in a dog kennel, and they're doing great out there. I'll show you some footage that I took yesterday. I just sat down in the pen and kind of filmed them to see what's shaking. My shoes were a real popular attraction. That's always funny. I'm sitting by the feeder. There's one of the babies that was in the sun. Alrighty, now on to the main thing I wanted to talk about today. And the main point, okay, here's the backstory. I was watching YouTube videos. I look around to see what other small livestock people are doing. I'm always interested in what breeds they have, if they're using rotational grazing, you know, what's working for them, what isn't working for them, what are they feeding, you know, when are they lambing, pigs, goats, just all kinds of stuff. I always look around, see what's shaking, because you never know. Somebody might come up with a good idea you can try. However, this time, not the best idea. And unfortunately, this guy, he's pretty new with sheep, and I'm super glad that he got started with a great sheep that he loves. But on his YouTube channel, he's telling people that the reason his sheep are doing super good for him is because they're registered. And I have no doubt that they are registered, but that's not the reason why they're doing well for him. That is a huge, huge misconception. Registration equals high quality sheep is kind of like saying anytime you see a fire, the fire department's there, so the fire department's starting fires. Well, not exactly, no, they're not. That's a confusion between causation and correlation. So ideally, your registered sheep are superstars. That would be wonderful. And actually, that's the point of registration, is that you know more of what's going on and you can have more confidence as a buyer that those sheep are worth your money. That's what you want. That's what you're going for. However, and let me be clear, it could be you're getting that. It could be that buying registered sheep is the best thing you could ever do for yourself. However, I think this guy kind of lucked out because there's far more to the story. And once again, I am so glad that he got sheep that he loves and they are working super good for him. That is awesome. And he did have some great tips about going to see people's farms and see how they actually are using their sheep, their day-to-day sheep stuff, to make sure that it matches up with what you want. I mean, that only makes sense. The closer the breeder is in their management to what you want to do when you get the sheep home, the better the sheep will perform for you. I mean, that only makes sense. And this isn't just sheep, pigs, goats, anything that's just rock solid advice. So that is super. The part that isn't so super is counting on it to come, or attributing all of the stuff that's working for him, and he's saying it came strictly from the fact that he bought registered sheep. It didn't. The reason his sheep are doing so well for him is because not only are they registered, but, and it's the but that really matters here. So not only are they registered, but he bought them from a breeder that has known what he's doing, has experience, and actually I don't know if it was a he or she, we'll just stick with he because that's where I started. A breeder with experience and integrity. And that is the biggest thing. You want to get your animals, like I said, sheep, pigs, whatever, get your animals from someone who's been doing this for a while so they know how their stock performs and they are willing to give you the straight scoop. And that some of the things that are super important to your success and are really vital for you to know just plain aren't on those registration papers. There's big gaps, especially in performance and confirmation, if we're going to be honest about it, or potential confirmation problems, that the registration paper just doesn't have any way, at least currently, does not take into account at all whatsoever. So unless those animals were actually inspected by a judge and then therefore qualified for registration, like rabbits have that, then you can be confident in that, because A certified judge looked at those rabbits, and if you've got registration papers for them, that means your rabbit is up to breed standards. So you've had third-party confirmation. Now you're getting somewhere. Those registration papers do mean, at least as far as confirmation goes, what you're hoping they mean. They still, unfortunately, leave a bit of a hole as far as performance, but that's where you, in your due diligence before you buy something, you can make your future livestock purchases so much more beneficial to you if you just start asking a few key questions that a conscientious breeder will know the answers to. Like, for instance, we'll just stick with sheep because it's easy. You want to know what their lambing percentage is. You'd like to know, are they seasonal? Do they lamb multiple times a year? Do they keep the ram in so they just get lambs whenever they get them? I mean, what's their plan? What's their plan there? Are they flushing the ewes? Do they breed? Is the first time ewe has a baby in her life, is she 1 or is she 2? Neither is better than the other. It's just however the stock has been managed up to when you get it is also what they're going to do for you when you get them home. And the further you move them off of that, the more a few are going to go down in flames. You're going to have to call them out, which is disappointing, especially if you coughed up the bucks for registered stock. So you want to be sure that if you get registration papers, and it could be that the registration means a ton to you, then that's great. Go for it. Just be aware that that's only, honestly, I'd say less than half of the information you need. Now you need to do some research and figure out the traits that are important to you. So for instance, if you'd like to sell lambs at like 55 to 60 pounds, well, how soon are these lambs going to reach 55 to 60 pounds? Do they need grain to do that? Are they doing it all on grass? Neither's better or worse. It's just if the breeder is doing what you want to do, then that's so much easier for the sheep to make that transition to your place. Other questions you should be asking. Not only what's the lambing percentage, you want to know about the weaning percentage. You want to know, so not only do those lambs need to be born, obviously, but they also need to make it not only to weaning, but also to selling. So if that farm has around 100 lambs born a year, well, how many are they selling? And it could be they only sold 50 because they kept back a huge amount of replacements. That's good. That's good. But start digging into their numbers and making sure that they're telling you things that make sense to you. The things that they are selecting for are the things that are important to you in your sheep. Because if they're doing things that you don't want to do, then you're not going to get the performance they are. For instance, if you're buying sheep from a person who has, let's say they're in the fortunate position, this would be wonderful, in the fortunate position to be able to hire 24-hour lamb barn monitoring. So anytime a ewe is lambing, she's put in a jug, somebody is right there on the spot to take care of the babies. That would be awesome. There's a few big farms in England that do this. We definitely don't, but it would be great. Anyway, if you're getting your sheep from a place like that, which once again is super, you'll need to have the same sort of setup to get the results they're getting. And if you were going to do more like we do, just the every few hours check, it might go great, but it might not. It all depends on what the ewes have been selected for based on what works at that person's place. Once again, circling back to the main point, that won't be on the paperwork. It's up to you to sort this out. And then earlier, I talked a little bit about confirmation. All a set of registration papers does is tell you the parentage of the animal that you are seeing. That's it. Assuming the paperwork's even accurate, which we're going to go with that. Hopefully it is. But that's all it tells you. It doesn't tell you how good that confirmation is. It just tells you who the parents are. And once again, this is not to say that you should never register. If it means a lot to you, then of course you should. Just be aware that that is only part of the battle as far as getting a hold of really great stock. If you want registered, high quality sheep that are going to do super good for you, then the fact that they're registered is just the first step to you finding the flock that'll work the best for you. And as I said before, same thing with pigs, same thing with goats, any of this. This is standard livestock advice. You need to look far beyond the paperwork. The paperwork is just the starter for other things that are far more important. As a breeder, for the integrity of the breed, not to mention your personal integrity, you have to maintain breed standards, and you have to be improving your stock. Anything that is not a great representation of the breed, first of all, if it's a ram, is definitely not kept as breeding stock, and surely not registered. You just can't do that. It doesn't matter that it could be registered. The whole point of the registration papers is that it helps the potential buyer get something high quality. So if you are buying registered with the plans to sell registered stock yourself, it sounds like I'm trying to stomp all over your dreams. Not at all. Not at all. I so hate to see people disappointed when they buy, a bunch of $500 sheep, so that, $500 sheep, and you should be able to get like 15 lambs this year, and those 15 lambs are going to sell for $500 each. No, only the ones that make the cut. And especially ram lambs, you need to be selective. You need, honestly, I can't imagine 10% will make it. And that's just the ones that are maybes. The person you get stuff from, you need to ask, what are their selection criteria? What made them pick this ram lamb? Why did he stand out? You need to know that. If you're at a place and they're saying, well, they're registered and they sell really well, so gosh, I just sell all my ram lambs as registered rams, I would heavily consider leaving. In a nice, polite way, of course. Thank you. Tell them thank you for their time. It's been wonderful to meet you. These just aren't what I'm looking for, and there's nothing wrong with that. And the reason you would be leaving is because they are not selecting. Part of the gig with breeding stock, and once again, circling back to registered, is it is your obligation to be only registering the best stuff. It doesn't matter how valuable those animals are. It doesn't matter how many you'd really, really like to sell, or, oh gosh, I've got buyers for 10, but I only have 5 high quality. Then you only sell 5 high quality. That's what you have to do. So if you're at a place, you want to hear their selection criteria. You want to hear, like, they selected at 60 pounds. And then they selected again at about 90 pounds. And then from that group of like 10, they only chose 3 ram lambs to run in their flock, or something like that. They need to raise the bar, and use only the best for breeding stock. Now, you notice I've been talking mostly about ram lambs because the bar is higher for them. Let's be real. But ewe lambs the same way. If you're buying registered stock and they're like, oh yeah, we register everything, they shouldn't. They shouldn't. It is once again, your obligation to be putting a registration paper with a high quality animal. And just being perfectly honest with you, 100% of your animals are not going to do it. They just won't. it's a little bit less of a big deal with ewes. I mean, they should still be what they're supposed to be, but a high quality ewe is a little bit easier to come by. Whereas a high quality ram, that's just a much higher standard. So please, if you get anything out of this whole registration talk and about me going on, the guy kind of, and I was going to say yanked my chain. He didn't really yank my chain. It's just that, that feels so misleading. So many people think, I'll just get this registered stuff and it'll be super great. Everything will be wonderful and I'll make all kinds of money. And only if the papers stand for years of great management and the highest of integrity on the part of the breeder. And if that's the case, then yes, those sheep are going to, if you're matching the sheep to your situation in your farm well, then yeah, those sheep are going to be awesome for you. But not because of the paper. The registration or not registration of a super high quality animal, that's the least of the important part there. It is all about the stock. It is all about the animal. It is all about the management, and it's all about what you do with it. The registration papers do not make a poor performer better, and they will not, to be blunt, they will not save you. They will not make you a better livestock manager. Getting a registered flock of sheep won't turn you into a superstar if you're not willing to put in the time and effort that those sheep deserve from you. Registration papers are not magic bullets. You still need really high quality genetics behind those papers, tons of breeder integrity, and plenty of work coming from you. If you're willing to put in the work, then super. Go for it. Registration papers might be well worth the time and investment. Just please be aware of what those papers are and what they aren't. Okay, that's it. A little bit of rant, but it's over now. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. I have to say one more thing. This is crazy. Usually the weather forecast was actually right this time. And it's kind of funny because I hear 6 to 8 inches of snow and I'm like, oh yeah, whatever, we've heard it before. And this time they actually had it. So we've got plenty of snow out there right now, which is, it's pretty, but kind of slogging through the dog walks, ready for it to melt off anytime. Hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful week. Happy February, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for stopping in.